The qualifying session is now in overtime. The race session is at Long Beach, California in Long Beach, USA. The wind speed is 20 km/h from the north-northeast. Alex is P1. Stuart from Italy is P2. Andy from Spain is third. Henry from United Kingdom is fourth. Lee is fifth. Stephen from Canada is sixth. Callum from Seychelles is seventh. James is P8. Colin from Scotland is P9. Paul from Burkina Faso is P10. Stu from Scotland is P11. Pete from Antigua and Barbuda is P12. Hassab from Italy is 13th. Alex from England is P1. Minutes remaining in the session. Race start. And here is play. Firestone is P2. Henry in East Shoreline Drive is P2. Andy in Aquarium Way is P2. Andy lost P9 to James. Lee in turn 4 is P3. Andy entering the pits is 13th. Callum in West Shoreline Drive is P4. Lee in turn 6 is P3. Callum in Pine Avenue is 4th. Lee in Seaside Way is P4. Callum in Seaside Way is 3rd. Alex in Firestone Turn is 4th. Callum in Legassumet is 3rd. Alex in East Shoreline Drive is P4. Stuart behind is on top. Callum in Bridgestone is P3, 1.0 behind Stephen. Alex in East Shoreline Drive is 4th, 0.4 ahead of Stuart. Callum in South Chestnut Place on lap 2 is 3rd, 0.6 behind Stephen. The race session is at Long Beach, California in Long Beach, USA. The wind speed is 31 km/h from the northeast. Alex is first. Stuart from Italy is second. Andy from Spain is P3. Henry from United Kingdom is 4th. Lee is P5. Stephen from Canada is 6th. Callum from Seychelles is 7th. James is 8th. Colin from Scotland is 9th. Paul from Burkina Faso is P10. Stu from Scotland is P11. Pete from Antigua and Barbuda is P12. Hassab from Italy is P13. Alex from England is first. "40 minutes remaining in the session. Race start. Stuart is P2. Andy ahead is on top. Henry in Bridgestone is second. Andy is P3, 9 P2 P left. Lee behind is on top. Henry in South Chestnut Place is P2. Hassab is P4. Henry in West Shoreline Drive is P2. Stephen is P3. Henry in turn 8 is second. Stephen in Seaside Way is P3. Henry in Firestone Turn is P2. Stephen in Indy Left is P3. Henry in East Shoreline Drive is P2. Stephen in East Shoreline Drive is P3. Henry in East Shoreline Drive is P2, 0.4 behind Alex. Stephen in Toyota on lap 2 is P3. 0.9 behind Henry. Henry in South Chestnut Place is second, 0.6 behind Alex. Stephen is third, 1.0 behind Henry. Henry in West Shoreline Drive is second, 0.4 behind Alex. Stephen in Turn 6 is third, 0.8 behind Henry. The race session is at Long Beach, California in Long Beach, USA. The wind speed is 43 km/h from the northeast. Alex is P1. Stuart from Italy is P2. Andy from Spain is third. Henry from United Kingdom is P4. Lee is fifth. Stephen from Canada is P6. Callum from Seychelles is 7th. James is 8th. Colin from Scotland is P9. Paul from Burkina Faso is P10. Stu from Scotland is P11. Pete from Antigua and Barbuda is P12. Hassab from Italy is 13th. Alex from England is P1. Minutes remaining in the session. Race start. Stuart is second. Andy and Bridgestone is second. Henry behind is on top. Stuart in East Shoreline Drive is P3. Andy in Aquarium Way is P2. Henry is third, 9P2P left. Andy in Turn 5 is P2. Henry in West Shoreline Drive is P3. Andy in Pine Avenue is P2. Henry in Seaside Way is P3. Andy in Seaside Way is P2. Henry is third. Andy in Le Gassamit is second. Andy is on top. Henry in East Shoreline Drive is P3. Andy in Bridgestone is second. Best lap is a 1:16.437. 0.536 off the fastest lap. Henry in Aquarium Way on lap 2 is P4, 0.2 behind Stuart. Andy in Turn 4 is P2. Henry in Turn 5 is P4, 0.3 behind Stuart. Andy in West Shoreline Drive is P2, 9P2P left, 0.5 behind Alex. Henry in Pine Avenue is 4th, 0.3 ahead of James. Andy in Seaside Way is P2, 0.5 behind Alex. Henry in Seaside Way is P4, 0.3 behind Stuart. Andy in Indy Left is second, 0.5 behind Alex. Stephen in Indy Left is P4, 0.1 ahead of James. Stephen is now fifth. Andy in East Shoreline Drive on lap 2 is second, 0.9 behind Alex. Colin in East Shoreline Drive is fourth, 9P2P left, 1.0 ahead of Callum. Colin is on top. Andy is second. Colin in Toyota is fourth, P2P left, 0.9 ahead of Callum. Andy in turn 5 is P2, 1.2 behind Alex. Colin on lap 3 is fourth, 0.9 behind Lee. Andy in Pine Avenue is P2, 1.1 behind Alex. Colin in turn 6 is fourth, 0.9 behind Lee. Callum in Pine Avenue is fifth. Best lap is a 1:14.051. 4.322 of the fastest lap. Colin ahead is on top. Colin is P4. James in Seaside Way is P7, 9P2P left, 0.6 behind Stu. Colin in Le Gassamit is P4. Colin is on top. James in Indy left is 7th, 0.5 behind Stu. Stu in East Shoreline Drive is P6, 0.5 ahead of James. Stu is on top. Colin in Bridgestone is P6, 6P2P left, 0.2 behind Stu. James in East Shoreline Drive is P7, 0.1 behind Colin. James was 10.6 faster last lap. Colin in South Chestnut Place is P6, 0.4 ahead of James. James on lap 4 is P7, 0.3 behind Colin. Colin in West Shoreline Drive is P6, 0.3 ahead of James. James in turn 6 is 7th, 0.4 behind Colin. Colin in turn 8 is P6, 0.3 ahead of James. Pete is 13th, 0.4 behind Hassett. Pete was 1.7 faster last lap. Stewart in Seaside Way is 6th. Best lap is a 1:09.474. 0.360 of the fastest lap. 35 minutes remaining in the session. Stephen in Seaside Way is P10. Best lap is a 1:20.720. 11.606 of the fastest lap. Stewart in Bridgestone on lap 5 is P6, 8P2P left, 0.9 behind James. Stephen in Le Gassamit on lap 4 is 10th, 0.7 behind Colin. Colin ahead is on top. Stewart in South Chestnut Place is 6th, 0.8 behind James. Stephen in East Shoreline Drive is P10. Best lap is a 1:11.587. 2.473 of the fastest lap. Stewart in turn 6 is P6, 0.5 behind James. Stephen in West Shoreline Drive is P10, 1.5 behind Colin. Stewart in Indy left is P6, 0.4 behind James. Stu entering the pits is 13th. Stewart is on top. Callum in South Chestnut Place on lap 6 is 4th, 9P2P left, 1.5 behind Lee. Stewart in Toyota is 6th, 7P2P left, 0.2 behind James. Stephen in Firestone turn on lap 5 is 11th, 1.3 behind Pete. Pete was 0.5 faster last lap. Stewart in Aquarium Way is P7, 0.8 behind Paul. Henry is 8th, 1.3 behind Stewart. Stu exiting pits. Stewart in West Shoreline Drive is 7th, 0.3 behind Paul. Henry is 8th, 1.1 behind Stewart. Stewart was 1.6 faster last lap. Stewart in turn 8 is P7, 0.5 behind Paul. Paul ahead is on top. Henry in Seaside Way is P8, 0.8 behind Stewart. Stewart in Firestone turn is 7th, 0.2 behind Paul. Henry in Indy left is P8, 0.8 behind Stewart. Stewart in East Shoreline Drive is 7th, 0.3 behind Paul. Stewart was 2.7 faster last lap. Stewart is on top. Henry is P8. Paul in Toyota is 7th, 8P2P left, 0.1 ahead of Henry. Stephen in East Shoreline Drive on lap 6 is P11, 0.6 behind P. Callum in Seaside Way is P4. Best lap is a 1:10.302. 1.188 off the fastest lap. Paul in West Shoreline Drive is P7, 1.2 behind Henry. Callum in Le Gassamit on lap 7 is 4th, 0.7 behind Lee. Paul in Turn 8 is P7. Best lap is a 1:11.798. 2.684 off the fastest lap. Callum in East Shoreline Drive is 4th, 8P2P left, 0.5 behind Lee. Callum was 1.0 faster last lap. Paul in Le Gassamit is P7, 1.5 behind Henry. Callum is P4, 0.5 behind Lee. Stewart is 8th, 6P2P left, 1.5 behind Paul. Callum in Indy left is 4th, 0.8 behind Lee. Stewart is 8th, 1.2 behind Paul. Callum in East Shoreline Drive is 4th, 0.7 behind Lee. Stewart in Seaside Way is 8th, 0.8 behind Paul. Callum is P4. Stewart is P8. 30 minutes remaining in the session. Callum is P4, 1.1 behind Lee. Stewart in Bridgestone is P8, 1.2 behind Paul. Stewart was 1.8 faster last lap. Callum in Pine Avenue is P4, 1.3 behind Lee. Stewart in South Chestnut Place is 8th, 0.9 behind Paul. Callum in Seaside Way is P4, 1.2 behind Lee. Stewart in West Shoreline Drive is P8, 0.6 behind Paul. Callum in Le Gassamit is 4th, 1.1 behind Lee. James in West Shoreline Drive is P5, 3.6 behind Callum. James was 0.9 faster last lap. Paul in Seaside Way is P9, 7P2P left, 4.8 behind Colin. Stewart is 8th. Best lap is a 109.119. 0.005 of the fastest lap. Stewart is now 7th. Paul in Firestone turn is P8. Colin in Firestone turn is 10th, 3P2P left. Colin passed Paul for P9. Callum in Aquarium Way is P4, 4.1 behind Lee. "25 minutes remaining in the session. Colin in Le Gassumet is P9, 1.5 behind Stephen. James exiting pits. Stephen in East Shoreline Drive is P9, 0.1 behind Colin. Colin ahead is on top. Stewart in Firestone turn is 7th, 2.4 behind James. Stephen in Seaside Way is 9th, 0.9 behind Colin. Stephen passed Colin for P8. Colin in South Chestnut Place on lap 14 is 9th, 2P2P left, 1.7 behind Stephen. Callum in West Shoreline Drive is P4, 1.5 behind Lee. Callum was 1.9 faster last lap. Pete exiting pits. Shoreline Drive on lap 15 is P9, 3.5 behind Stephen. Hassab entering the pits is P12. Callum is P4. Lee ahead is on top. Lee in Seaside Way is P4, 6 P2 P left battling Callum. Callum was 0.8 faster last lap. Hassab exiting pits. Entering the pits is 10th. Colin in turn 5 on lap 16 is 9th, 4.3 behind Stephen. Exiting pits. Andy in Seaside Way is 3rd, 0.2 behind Callum. 20 minutes remaining in the session. Lee in Seaside Way is 4th, 0.6 behind Andy. All exiting pits. Andy in Indy left on lap 17 is 3rd, 0.7 behind Callum. Lee in East Shoreline Drive on lap 17 is P4, 0.8 behind Andy. Andy was 1.9 faster last lap. Andy in Bridgestone is P3, 0.8 ahead of Lee. Lee in East Shoreline Drive is 4th, 0.8 behind Andy. Andy in South Chestnut Place is 3rd, 0.8 ahead of Lee. Lee in Turn 4 is P4, 1.0 behind Andy. Stephen in Turn 5 is P99 P2 P left, 0.7 behind Colin. Lee is 4th, 1.2 behind Andy. Andy on lap 18 is P3, 1.5 behind Callum. Lee in Seaside Way is 4th, 1.4 behind Andy. Andy in Firestone Turn is P3, 1.3 behind Callum. Callum was 16.5 faster last lap. Stephen in Indy left is P9, 0.3 behind Colin. Colin in East Shoreline Drive is 9th battling Stephen. Colin was 6.0 faster last lap. Lee in East Shoreline Drive is 4th, 5 P2 P left, 1.5 behind Andy. Andy in Aquarium Way is 3rd, 0.4 ahead of Lee. Andy lost 3rd to Lee. Lee in South Chestnut Place is 3rd. Best lap is a 1:10.258. 1.144 of the fastest lap. Callum in West Shoreline Drive is P3, 0.6 behind Lee. Andy in West Shoreline Drive is P4, 0.7 behind Callum. Colin exiting pits. Callum in Pine Avenue is P3, 0.7 ahead of Andy. Lee behind is on top. Andy in Seaside Way is 3rd battling Lee. Lee in Seaside Way is 4th. Andy in Indy left is P3. Lee in Le Gassamit is P4. Andy in East Shoreline Drive is P3. Best lap is a 109.427. 0.313 of the fastest lap. Stewart exiting pits. Lee is 4th. Andy in turn 5 is 3rd, 1.3 behind Callum. Lee in Seaside Way is 4th, 4P2P left, 1.5 behind Andy. Callum in Indy left is P3, 0.1 behind Andy. Lee in Indy left is P5 battling Henry. Callum in East Shoreline Drive on lap 20 is 3rd, 7P2P left, 0.1 behind Andy. Lee entering the pits is 5th. Andy is P3. Andy is on top. Lee exiting pits. Hassab in turn 4 is P12, 8P2P left. 15 minutes remaining in the session. Andy in Indy left is 3rd, 7P2P left, 0.2 behind Callum. Andy passed Callum for 2nd. Hassab in East Shoreline Drive is P12, 0.1 ahead of Stu. Callum is P3, 0.7 ahead of James. Callum exiting pits. Henry exiting pits. Callum lost P3 to James. Lee is 6th. Lee is on top. Callum in turn 6 is P4, 1.5 behind James. Lee in Pine Avenue is P6, 2P2P left, 1.2 behind Henry. Henry was 16.6 faster last lap. Pete entering the pits is P11. Callum is P4. James is 4th, 7P2P left, 0.3 behind Callum. James was 7.5 faster last lap. Henry in Le Gassamit is P5, 8P2P left, 0.9 behind James. James ahead is on top. Henry is on top. James is 4th. Stephen exiting pits. Pete exiting pits. Stu entering the pits is 13th. Henry is P5. James in South Chestnut Place on lap 23 is 4th, 6P2P left, 0.7 behind Callum. Henry is P5, 7P2P left, 0.8 behind James. James in West Shoreline Drive is 4th. Best lap is a 109.507. 0.423 of the fastest lap. Henry in turn 8 is 5th, 0.3 behind James. James was 22.2 faster last lap. Callum ahead is on top. Henry is on top. James is P4. Stu exiting pits. James lost 4th to Henry. Henry is 4th. James in Le Gassumet is 5th, 0.8 behind Henry. James was 22.2 faster last lap. James is on top. Henry is P4. James in East Shoreline Drive is 5th, 5P2P left, 0.9 behind Henry. Lee in Toyota is 6th, 1.5 behind James. Henry in turn 4 is P4, 6P2P left, 1.1 ahead of James. James in turn 5 is P5. Henry in turn 6 is P4. Best lap is a 109.466. 1.012 of the fastest lap. James in turn 8 is 5th, 1.3 ahead of Lee. Lee was 0.9 faster last lap. Henry in Seaside Way is P4. Lee in Firestone Turn is 6th, 0.9 behind James. Henry in Le Gassumet is 4th, 1.0 behind Callum. Henry is on top. Lee in East Shoreline Drive is 6th, 1P2P left, 0.5 behind James. Lee was 0.9 faster last lap. Andy exiting pits. Callum is 3rd. Henry in South Chestnut Place is 4th, 5P2P left, 0.5 behind Callum. Callum is 3rd, 4P2P left, 0.4 behind Andy. Henry in West Shoreline Drive is 4th, 0.4 behind Callum. Andy in turn 6 is P3, 4P2P left, 0.3 behind Callum. 10 minutes remaining in the session. Henry is P3. Andy in Seaside Way is 3rd, 0.3 ahead of Lee. Lee entering the pits is P7. Callum in Indy left is P4. Andy in East Shoreline Drive is P3, 1.5 behind James. Callum in Aquarium Way on lap 26 is 4th, 0.1 behind Andy. Alex exiting pits. Lee exiting pits. Stephen in East Shoreline Drive is 9th, P2P left, 1.5 behind Lee. Callum in turn 6 is P4. Best lap is a 109.277. 0.823 of the fastest lap. Stephen is P9. Best lap is a 109.466. 1.012 of the fastest lap. Callum in Firestone Turn on lap 26 is 4th, 3P2P left, 0.2 behind Andy. Stephen in turn 8 is 9th, 7P2P left, 0.9 behind Lee. Callum in East Shoreline Drive is P4. Stephen in Firestone Turn on lap 25 is P9, 0.4 behind Lee. Lee was 24.8 faster last lap. Callum in Toyota is 4th, 0.3 behind Andy. Callum was 0.9 faster last lap. Stephen in East Shoreline Drive is P9, 1.1 behind Lee. Callum in turn 5 is P4, 0.6 behind Andy. Stephen in Aquarium Way is 9th. Callum in Pine Avenue is P4, 0.8 behind Andy. Stephen in turn 5 is 9th, 0.6 behind Lee. Callum in Seaside Way is 4th, 2P2P left, 0.6 behind Andy. Stephen in Pine Avenue on lap 26 is 9th, 0.3 behind Lee. Stephen is on top. Callum in East Shoreline Drive is P4, 0.8 behind Andy. Stephen in Seaside Way is 9th, 6P2P left, 0.3 behind Lee. Callum in East Shoreline Drive on lap 28 is P4, 0.7 behind Andy. Henry in Toyota is 5th, 3P2P left, 1.3 behind Callum. Callum is P4, 0.9 behind Andy. Henry in turn 5 is P5, 1.3 behind Callum. Andy is P3, 3P2P left, 1.5 behind James. Andy was 1.7 faster last lap. Callum in turn 8 is 4th, 1.3 behind Andy. Stu entering the pits is P13. Andy in Seaside Way is P3. Best lap is a 109.043. 0.964 of the fastest lap. Callum in Indy left is 4th, 1.0 ahead of Henry. Andy in East Shoreline Drive is P3, 0.9 behind James. Henry in East Shoreline Drive is 5th, 1.0 behind Callum. Andy in East Shoreline Drive is 3rd, 1.1 behind James. Andy was 1.2 faster last lap. Callum in Aquarium Way is P4, 1.2 behind Andy. Henry is 4th, 0.1 ahead of James. Henry was 0.9 faster last lap. Callum in West Shoreline Drive is 3rd, 1.1 ahead of Henry. Henry in turn 6 is P4, 1.1 behind Callum. Callum is P3. Callum is on top. Henry in Seaside Way on lap 29 is P4, 0.8 behind Callum. 5 minutes remaining in the session. Stu exiting pits. Callum in Indy left on lap 29 is 3rd, 1P2P left, 0.4 behind Andy. Henry in Le Gassumet is 4th, 1.0 behind Callum. Henry is on top. Andy ahead is on top. Callum is P3. Henry in East Shoreline Drive is P4, 2P2P left, 0.9 behind Callum. Callum in Aquarium Way is P3, 0.3 behind Andy. Henry is 4th, 0.7 behind Callum. Callum in West Shoreline Drive is 3rd, 0.3 behind Andy. Henry in West Shoreline Drive is 4th, 0.8 behind Callum. Callum in Pine Avenue is 3rd, 0.2 ahead of Henry. Henry behind is on top. Callum is on top. Henry is 4th. Callum in Firestone Turn is 3rd, 0P2P left, 0.1 ahead of Henry. Henry in Indy left is P4. Callum in East Shoreline Drive is 3rd, 0.3 ahead of Henry. Henry in East Shoreline Drive is 4th, 1P2P left, 0.4 behind Callum. Callum in East Shoreline Drive is 3rd. Henry in Aquarium Way is 3rd, 0.1 ahead of Callum. Stephen is 9th. Henry in turn 5 is P3, 1.1 behind Andy. Andy in Firestone Turn is 3rd, 2P2P left, 0.2 behind Henry. Andy lost P3 to Callum. Callum in Aquarium Way is 3rd, 1.5 behind Henry. Henry was 1.9 faster last lap. Henry in Seaside Way is third. Best lap is a 1:08.891. 0.812 of the fastest lap. Henry lost third to Andy. Andy ahead is on top. Andy in Aquarium Way on lap 33 is third, 1p2p left, 0.2 ahead of Henry. Andy was 7.0 faster last lap. Henry in turn 5 is P4, 0p2p left, 0.2 behind Andy. Andy was 7.0 faster last lap. Andy in Firestone turn is third, 0.6 ahead of Henry. Henry in Indy left is P4, 0.5 behind Andy. The leader has just finished the race. Alex finished first. James finished fourth. Andy finished fifth. Paul finished P10. Stewart finished sixth. Lee finished P8. Stephen finished ninth. Colin finished P7. Callum finished second. Henry finished P3. Hassett finished P12. Heath finished P11. Stu finished P13.